podcast here on our YouTube channel. And I'm joined once more by Pommelien de Silva Cosme. Hello,
Hi,
Pommelien.
Colin.
How are
Hi.
you?
Good, I'm doing well.
You had a good week?
I did, yeah.
I like rounding it off like this at the end of the week with a little chat, talk about subjects of interest for our clientele and for viewers as well. Today, we're going to address questions which are often posed concerning forms of ownership of property.
The very basics, right?
It's basic, but it's interesting, I think, to go over it for people who are considering coming into the Marrakech property market. So there are basically three forms of property ownership. There's the Melkia, the Requisition, and the title deed.
There's a few more, but I think those three are,
the most
to start
important.
with.
What questions do you get asked the most?
I think because, you know, for us, title deed, that's like very basic, like we're so used to using that term, but I think there's still people who are like, but what is a title deed? You know, and especially what is the difference between a title deed and a Melkia?
I mean, the title deed is guaranteed by the government, basically, isn't it? It's 100% safe, it's eternal.
Yeah.
There's a land registry, in French, the Conservation Foncière, who have a record of all title deeds. And of course, as a foreigner, you're perfectly able to buy a title deed. It's interesting on the title, basically, the title deed will only describe the footprint.
True, yes.
Sometimes it will say plus first floor, etc., but generally it just gives a footprint, which can be a challenge. You say, well, it's only 100 square meters, but in fact it's 100 plus 100 plus 100.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And in the case of douarias, it's very confusing sometimes for people.
What's a douaria?
A douaria is a small, I would say, living space adjacent to a riad, right? Traditionally, this is where it was like a private little residence. And so usually it just has a very small footprint. Sometimes it can be as small as like 5 square meters. And it goes up the stairs. So yeah, obviously when you see a title deed that has like 5 square meters, it can be confusing.
It can.
Yeah.
But basically your cadastral plan, so you have two things when you're buying a freehold title. You will have your title deed, and then you will also have your cadastral plan.
Yeah.
And on the cadastral plan, it will give you the footprint, but it will also describe your air rights, correct?
Yes.
So if I go up my stairs, I come in onto my 5 square meters and I go up the stairs, it will then say on the first floor you have, from a height of such, the air rights going up.
Yeah.
So it is relatively clear. And in fact, notaries are very particular about the sale of titled property. A notary, for those who don't know, is basically a property lawyer. It comes from the French system, and when you're purchasing, you will have a central notary who will work for you as the purchaser and also for the seller, and will do diligence on both sides.
Yeah.
And that diligence includes checking the title deed, checking the cadastral plan, making sure the money is in escrow, etc., etc. So the purchase and the sale of freehold title is fairly straightforward, I think.
Yes.
If you're used to purchasing in France or in Switzerland or in Spain, it's very similar.
Yeah.
And then there's Melkia. What's Melkia?
Well, how do we describe it? I mean, I think this is the title deed before the system of the actual title deed, the Conservation Foncière, came in, right? These are, I think they call them Islamic notary acts, like acts written or contracts written by the Islamic notary, who are called adul. And they are the original title deed, let's say.
Yes. The titling system and the land registry was actually introduced by the French here in Morocco in the early 20th century. And previous to that, all property was guaranteed by the Department of Islamic Affairs. So the religious authorities. So the adul, who is the Islamic notary, would note, literally in handwriting on a piece of paper, the owners of a roughly described property. So that could be hectares and hectares of land, or it could be an apartment, or it could be a riad in the Medina. And some of these documents, actually, when you see them, they're really fascinating because they change over the generations with all the different names added on and annotations. And some of them are really, really beautiful. I've seen some very old ones.
Yes.
So yeah, can a foreigner buy a Melkia?
Yes.
Yes? No restrictions?
No.
No restrictions. There you go. The issue with the Melkia, if you like, is that they are approximate. Surface areas often are not particularly accurate, and they are challengeable. That is to say, somebody who appears in the previous generations a relative of that person could have a claim on the property. So we generally, although some foreigners I know will buy Melkia, and I bought Melkia myself without a problem.
You did, yes.
We do tend to recommend that they take the file to the land registry and start the titling process. So you would make an offer on a Melkia, you would have your offer accepted, and then you would do a preliminary contract with a notary and not with the adul.
Yeah.
And the notary would then get the selling family to produce all the necessary paperwork for the title deed.
Yeah.
So they would need to be measured professionally.
That's the first step.
The first step. You would need to have everybody positively identified. Everybody who could have a claim on the property would need to show their ID or their passport.
Yeah.
And then in some cases, you would need to have the 12 witnesses, which I've always found very amusing, but the 12 neighbors basically, Istimrar, who all get together, drink a cup of tea and say, yes, this belongs to the family and it is where it says it is, etc. And with that file, then the adul, under the guidance of the notary, can go to the land registry and put in the file. So the land registry will then emit a requisition.
A requisition, yeah, sorry.
So a requisition is basically the start of the titling process. When you're with the land registry, if there is an issue, it will show up right at that point. So if somebody is not positively identified, if the property already has a title deed or doesn't belong to this family, that will immediately be apparent, and it will be measured to the centimeter.
Even the air, including any air rights,
etc. And in the old Melkias, a lot of the properties are actually conjoined,
tied into each other.
Yeah. So once the land registry has dealt with that and they've issued your requisition, it comes with a number which is basically your future title number. We consider that to be safe.
Yeah.
Following the acceptance by the land registry, there is a couple more processes before your title deed is issued. The officials will come around and, in a process called bornage, it means the marking of the building, they will come twice and they will put little daubs of red paint. If you're walking around Marrakech Medina or elsewhere, you see these little daubs of red paint. That's the land registry at work. They will do that twice, and then there will be 2 publications in the official journal in Rabat. And that process is actually quite long. It's about a year to go from the first start of the requisition to the title. Yet you're the owner. If you buy it at requisition, all of the major risks have been put aside, and you have basically then the property, you have the keys, you can start work on it. If you want to renovate it, you can do that. And by the time you finish your renovation, the title deed will be there.
Yeah.
So do we sell a lot of requisitions?
We have much more, I feel like, in the recent years, right? I think in the beginning, at least since I started working here, we've had clients who are very like, no, we only want title deed. But, you know, as the supply is also changing a lot in terms of title deed properties, people are looking also at Melkias or requisition. And it is through the process you mentioned that it can be done buying a Melkia, but in front of a notary with a suspensive clause that there will be the obtention of the requisition number, reassures a lot of clients. So even first-time buyers, we've accompanied them. I at least have accompanied, I think, 4 people who've went through that process. And while it takes time, it all like went okay, alhamdulillah. So I've never seen in the years of experience we have at Bosworth Property Marrakech a requisition actually not turn into a title. They've all gone into title deeds in my experience. Now I know historically that wasn't the case. There were issues in the past when the land registry wasn't quite as particular and accurate as it is today. Oh, they're very diligent.
Very diligent indeed. So if there is an issue, basically it shows up right at the beginning. And then it's just a question of time, really.
And also the issues, because people always expect that it would be, you know, families or unidentified people, family members or people part of the inheritance. But sometimes it's little things like, oh, this door is not on the plan, you have to close it, or, you know, something like that. So it's usually something that owners can fix in a very short amount of time. And then
sometimes as well there are features which are not allowed by the land registry, you know, tall buildings which are taller than they should be, etc. They do make exceptions as long as your topographer has done the plan properly, they will usually accept it as existing structures. But we have seen situations where they've said this is not allowed. You've got your room is too tall on the terrace or things like that.
Yeah.
And that needs to be modified during the renovation.
Yeah.
But generally we've seen a lot of success with requisition. And as you say, there's so little freehold title currently available to renovate that people are now, taking that path and with success.
Yes.
It's usually also not quite as expensive as the freehold. What would
There
you say?
are some costs involved, though. How much do you think, like the administrative process of getting a Melkia into requisition and title deed?
So it would depend on the process, but generally we could say between 5 and 7% of the value of the property.
Yeah.
7% if it needs estimra, all of these neighbors and people, because it's not just a cup of tea, they actually get paid to give their opinion on that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question, because who pays that? Usually, during the negotiation for the purchase of a Melkia, you would decide who is going to pay, and that will then impact, of course, the purchase price.
Yes.
If the requisition process is included in the price, it will be 5 or 7% higher than if you do it yourself. If I take on that cost, we usually recommend that the sellers do it, because they've got all the documentation, they know everything. Much better to get them to do it and to bring that requisition number to the notary for the completion of the sale. So there are other types of property as well in Morocco, not ownership but property. So for example, agricultural land. That can be titled, it can be Melkia, it can be requisition. It's the one type of property that we are not allowed to buy as foreigners.
Yes. With the exception of Tunisians and
Senegalese and
nationals?
Tunisians,
Yes.
Which is an interesting one.
Yeah.
I presume that comes from the French period in North Africa as well. But yes, a lot of people are very frustrated because you can see a beautiful land at the foot of the mountains or next to a lake or whatever, and you think, wow, I'd love to buy and build. But as in many countries, I suppose, there are green belts, and
definitely, yeah.
the zoning requirements are quite strict here, actually, outside the urban areas. And as a foreigner, you're not allowed to control the production of agriculture. So basically, they don't want you to buy it. You can lease it. We know some people who lease olive farms or fruit farms, things like that, which is, they can run it, but they can't own it, basically, which is interesting. And another...
However, I'll add to that some rural zones have already been transformed into urban zones, right? We do see that the urban zone is expanding, especially in Marrakech and its surroundings.
Absolutely. I mean, south of Marrakech, once they rezoned the Amesmiz Road and the Urika Road, that immediately took off, didn't it? And now the same is happening on the Fez Road out to about kilometer 6, where it's been zoned for construction, and there's a lot of construction going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very interesting. But generally speaking, if you are outside these urban zones, you, as a foreigner, can only buy a property which is already zoned as a touristic infrastructure or a hotel or something like that, or a standalone villa which historically has authorization.
Yeah. But there are ways. We've had, I think you in particular have had experience with purchasing clients that have agreed to buy something that does not have the VNA or the urban zoning yet. But there are ways, right, to work together with the notary and the property owner to make an agreement with a condition. With a condition that once it's zoned, you can proceed with the.
Well, interestingly, this zoning can be provisional as well. So, for example, if I'm building 10 villas in the countryside within the urban zone, it will only have provisional urban status until the titles are split and the individual villas are sold, and then you get it permanently zoned. It's a bit technical, but it's good to know if you are purchasing a new villa. Often there's this issue of getting the individual title deed and then getting the what's called the VNA, which is the urban zone certificate. It does happen. It's just administration. Yeah, and also one other type of, we won't say ownership, but structure, like we have here in the office, is colloquial known as the keys, basically a leasehold. As a foreigner, can I lease anything? A farm, an apartment?
Yes, you can. Short
Wow.
answer, right?
Yes.
I mean, I think we've had a client once who was on a lease contract of 99 years. I love that. But yeah, and it was a commercial space, for example, little shop, little restaurant. And there's actually more people than you would think that run their business this way, or in your case, the office. So
yeah, we lease here. Yeah,
yeah.
We're on a rolling contract. It's called a 369. It's a French system where every 3 years the owner of the building, he can ask us for a 10% increase in rent. It's peppercorn rent, to be honest, for a location like this, the size of offices we have. So what we did when we moved here, just for viewers' information, we bought the keys. That is to say, the previous tenant came to us and said, you can have access to the apartment and access to my lease contract for such a price, which we thought was reasonable at the time, and we've been proved very right. So we gave literally a check to the person who was occupying this office space. We met with the owner signed a new contract with us, and we started on this 369 contract, which we still have. And if in the future we decide we need bigger space or we need to downsize or whatever, we can then sell on that right to the keys to a potential purchaser who would pay us for that, and then would meet the owner and establish a new contract with the owner. So
with a monthly rent, right?
it's a monthly rent, yeah. I mean, it's not much, to be honest. Now, I mean, we've been here for over 3 years. I would say rents would have doubled at least, if not more, in the time that we've been here. So that's a few forms of ownership and use of property. We've looked at the Melkia, we've looked at the requisition, freehold title, and leasehold. We have a very nice villa for leasehold up in the mountains, up past Asni.
Oh yeah, the one in Marira near Wirgan.
In Wirgan. It's absolutely fabulous. And because it's a leasehold, it's very affordable. And it's 99 years. It's like, you're not going to need longer than 99 years. And in fact, because it's the homeowners association which own the land, if somebody were to buy it, the 99 years would start again. So super interesting, because you become a shareholder of the homeowners association. So that's another technicality, but it's super interesting.
It is interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it gives you access. The leasehold is generally less expensive.
Yeah.
We also see a lot of leasehold in commercial, as you're saying. The new Morocco Mall, which is nearing completion on the Mohammed VI Avenue, they're not selling at all. It is literally just leased in there, which is interesting. It would be interesting to buy in there, but obviously the developers are going to max out on the leaseholds
of course.
over
And
time.
Again, it's very common actually, the more you think about it, right? But for homeowners, I think it's less common to think of leasing a space, but it is an option. So there's actually many ways to to own property here.
Yeah, specifically for agricultural zones, I think this is super interesting, the lease.
It is, yeah.
And I think probably the topic for a future podcast will be this AVNA, the rezoning and how that works. I think it's technical, but it's interesting. If you are looking for a substantial property in Marrakech and you want to go the countryside way, it is possible. And if there's an interest in that, just drop a comment below, and we will deal with that in a future podcast.
Yeah.
Well, it's Friday afternoon, Pommelien, and that means team drinks later on, going into the Christmas season now as well. Are you prepared for Christmas? What are you up to?
I'll be around actually. Okay. I'll be in Marrakech. They're doing, I think, starting next weekend. There's Christmas markets all over the city. There's one actually here down the street in the Via Cafe restaurant, and I'm sure that Royal Mansour, there's their annual Christmas
That's actually
market.
Really interesting because there are charities, I know Education for All and others are there, and they have a stand, and there's a mulled wine, and there's Christmas cake, and there's Santa Claus and all of those sort of things.
And you can see a little bit, you get a glimpse of the Royal Mansour, and it's, their Christmas tree is definitely worth, I think, only just that, that
and entrance is free.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's your chance to get into the Royal Mansour if you're in Marrakech from the middle of next week. Well worth a little trip over there. Have a Christmas cake and a glass of wine, and get the Christmas season off to a good start.
Yeah.
So
otherwise, where are you?
So
where are you
here,
celebrating it? Also,
we'll be here. We have family flying in from the UK. A week before Christmas, and we'll spend Christmas and the New Year here. But New Year is also, I'm looking forward to very much.
Yeah.
New Year on the rooftop in Marrakech Medina is just dreamy. It's absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
A bit chilly at this time of year, but we're looking forward to that very much as well.
I would definitely recommend people to book in advance.
Definitely.
Yeah, because it's actually the busiest time of year. People often ask me, and it's really end of year, right?
Yes, really from mid-December to the first week of January is ultra high season.
Yes.
And specifically for New Year's Eve, if you are looking to go out to a restaurant or a rooftop, you will need to book now. I mean, one more week will be too late for sure. Everywhere will be full. So well worth doing. Yeah. Well, that was fun. Thank you very much for me.
Thank you.
We dealt with some technical issues there, and I hope that's clear. If it's not, we can answer your questions immediately following this podcast. So have a good weekend, everybody, and we'll see you again next Friday.
Happy Friday.